Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Stephen J. Ross Theater here on the campus of the Warner Brothers studio lot here in Burbank, California. And a special welcome to everyone joining us out in cyberspace tonight. My name is E.J. Stevens. I'm with the Warner Brothers Corporate Archive Department. I have the great honor and privilege of welcoming you all to the Warner Brothers VIP Tours Meet the Family Speaker Series. We'll be talking a little bit more about the genesis of all that. But tonight, we have the great honor of hearing from a man who not only is the king of the customizers, he created the 1960s Adam West Batmobile, as well as dozens of other picture cars that the world knows about. He's not just a car legend or a Hollywood legend, though. I think we can actually call this gentleman a California legend, and that is, of course, Mr. George Barris. Now, we call this series the Meet the Family Speaker Series because the idea is to introduce people and to spotlight people who have been part of the Warner Brothers corporate family, if you will, long-term employees and people with long-term relationships with the company. And our guests tonight certainly have that, but we also have the added bonus of our guests being part of a real family, and that is they are brother and sister as well. Now, the way this came about tonight was a few months ago, I spoke to my friend Cassandra Salapatas-Metz here on the lot, and I said, you know, we would love to have you be one of our guests for the Meet the Family Speaker Series. She's a long-term employee. I'll let her admit exactly how long-term of an employee she's been. But we said, Cassandra, we'd love to have you be one of our guests, and she said, yes, that's a great idea, and she suggested that her brother George show up as well, which was a fantastic idea. And then she came up with another idea, and she said, you know, we have a family friend who is the world-renowned comedian and ventriloquist car guy, Jeff Dunham. Would you like him to be the guest moderator? Yeah, we want him to be the guest moderator, so he's going to be our guest moderator tonight. Now, before I bring those two gentlemen out, I would like to bring Cassandra out to talk a little bit about what she does here. She is the assistant director of the Warner Brothers Transportation Department, and one of the areas that she oversees is the Warner Brothers Transportation Museum, which is something that you get to see on the Warner Brothers VIP tours whenever you come and take a tour, which takes place here 7 days a week. So let's bring her out, Miss Cassandra Salapatas-Metz.
Well, hello everybody, and thank you very much for coming. It's very nice for everyone to make time. I want to welcome you and also tell you about VIP tours and our car museum on the lot. So if you have never visited Warner Brothers and enjoyed the tour here in Burbank, you should make the time to do so. I'm kind of responsible for the car museum, which is on the lot, and it's in constant flux and constant change, and we always have things in there that are new and different. And if you're a car person, you will enjoy it, and if you're a non-car person, you will like it as well. So I've been asked to invite everyone, so queue up and come someday. But more importantly, I have been asked to let you know that George and Jeff are arriving.
All right, George, here we are.
All right.
The people are ready for us.
RTG, ready to go.
Absolutely. All right, awesome.
All right, get ready to get on. Okay.
Perfect.
All right.
Let's go.
All right. Is this the right? Oh, man. Red carpet time, huh?
Yep. Hey, it's us.
Oh, that is.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for coming out today, and this is going to be a lot of fun, and I think I'm supposed to let you guys know that we are streaming live right now on Warner Brothers YouTube channel, so we welcome the folks from there, and in a little while we're going to be, when we're taking questions, we're going to have questions from the live audience here, and we'll be taking Twitter questions as well, so can we go to that slide? Can we look at that real quick? All right, so here we are. So if you want to join us, if you're on the web right now, you already know that you're on the web, so I don't even know why we're showing the slide. So but that's perfect. It's great. There are logos and all that. So tweet your questions to George and Cassandra and me, and it should be about Batmobiles. I guess we can talk about other stuff, but no one cares.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, George, this is just great fun to have you here. You and I have became friends a few years ago, but I want to start with the very beginning of where this recent popularity in Batman and Batmobiles really came about, and when Warner Brothers became aware of what they had with the Batmobiles, and it all starts with you. But let's go back to 2012, Cassandra, when Dark Knight Returns was in the process of they're starting to promote it and getting ready to release it. So tell us exactly what happened.
Well, because I've been around Batmobiles all my life, literally with George, I've often thought of myself kind of as the Bat mistress, the caretaker of all the cars. And I realized that people, the general public, everybody loved a Batmobile. It didn't matter which one, everyone had a personal favorite.
And how many Batmobiles are there now of the physical cars that Warner Brothers has?
There are 5, 4 of which you could see at VIP tours, but there are 5, including George's. And I always felt that it was very, very important that somehow it was documented, because I look at these cars as art pieces, and I felt the artists, the designers, all the production people needed to be recognized. And I had hoped some way, somehow, we could put this on film, which we were fortunate enough to do. And that's kind of how it all started.
So it started with the documentary.
I think so, yes I do.
And so the documentary comes along, and basically, what was the title of the documentary?
Batmobile.
I bet thought long and hard about what the heck to call that, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, good. So they're filming the documentary, and then somebody comes up with the brilliant idea of taking all these cars, and I think it was you. On Friday night here in Burbank is what we call what do they call it? The
Cruise night.
Cruise night, that's right, sorry. I had a little brain thing there. Cruise night at Bob's Big Boy, and everybody shows up with their vehicles, right, George?
Right.
And how many years have you been coming to that?
Oh, I can't count the years myself, but I was able to walk and get there.
Oh, so you had a horse and buggy?
Yes.
Good. All right. So it started back then. That's good. So we decided to take all the Batman. But was this your idea, Cassandra?
It was.
It was your idea. Okay. So this is what's amazing to me, is that so much of this has happened because of you, who basically are in transportation and we're just transporting vehicles around the world for Warner Brothers, correct?
Yeah.
So you had all these cars and decided, okay, let's take them to Bob's Big Boy and see what happens. So you got all these cars, all the Batmobiles together. They're all driving around. You're doing photo shoots during the day, and then they all show up at Bob's Big Boy that evening, right?
It was.
This is when I showed up, because I had purchased one of the Keaton Batmobiles. It was from Batman Returns, and it was the stand-in car that was used when filming the movie. And that's when I realized that there were Batmobiles out there that, were like not just here. So there are many replicas out there. So I purchased this vehicle, and then I heard about the Bob's Big Boy thing, and I was invited, and I came, and I had also purchased George's Bat Smart. This is a smart car that George and the guys turned into a Batmobile. So it's like, it's either really cool or what the hell are you thinking, right?
Right.
So I got there, and I love driving this thing around because people are, thumbs up, always. And then they shut their window and laugh at you. So all the Batmobiles go to show up at Bob's Big Boy, and Cassandra, like you said, every walk of life is there, and everybody, as George always says, has a smile on their face. There's old people, young people, the educated, the uneducated, teenagers, folks walking around with oxygen tanks. That would be the older folks, and little kids. And it's amazing to me that everybody has their favorite. Even little kids now, and I'm still trying to figure this out, are in love with the #1 Batmobile. And I guess it's because they've repeated the series on television. That's how they know about it. But little kids know the very first car, the '66 Batmobile. So you see all these people with smiles on their faces, and it basically happened because you decided it was a good idea. Then what happened?
Well, it was a good idea, and people enjoyed it. And as a result, Warner Brothers thought it might be a nice thing to take all the cars to a small little event called Comic-Con. So all the cars went down to San Diego, and we were very, very fortunate to have Jeff involved and George involved. And clearly it was incredibly popular. And then I think that folks at Warner's realized we had kind of a tiger by the tail here with these cars.
And these cars are celebrities themselves. It's like people get emotional. It is absolutely amazing when you see these cars in person. It's sometimes, it's kind of ridiculous, but the pictures and film almost don't do them justice. And so you see them in person, and it's flabbergasting. Now, what I wanted to do, George, before we start asking, yes, sir.
You forgot one thing.
All right.
You all talked about Bob's Big Boy.
Yeah.
You forgot to talk about the people that were on the rooftops looking down at us.
Yeah, that's true. It was a huge, huge crowd, and people from everywhere, and people calling people, and yeah, it was very exciting. It was a massive crowd.
That's the first time I was ever on a tour on the street where a cop didn't come up and give me a ticket.
Yeah, people lined up on the sidewalks waving, and YouTube videos after that and everything, yeah. All right, so George, let's talk a little bit about what in the world it is that you have done and what you've done to the Batman culture. Can you start with a little bit of I want to go to your earliest career. What was the very first car that you customized?
Well, I was a very good student in school. I got kicked out of every school I went to because I wanted to do cars. At 15 years old, I did a 32 Ford, and I put cat-eyed taillights in it and got a whopping $10. I said, that's going to make me rich, and that's what started me off. But I made one mistake. I used the word custom. I took the C away, threw it away, and I put K. So I had the word customs with a K. If I had a good, smart attorney, I would have trademarked that, and I would have been rich today. So that was my first thrill at 15 years old, is making a 32 Ford into a wild-looking car.
So then when did you actually turn it into a business? When did you get the shop on Riverside?
Riverside come in afterwards. My brother and I joined. We went down to Riverside in not North Hollywood, in Compton. And that's where I was making the first days. My brother chopped the first Mercury. Then I started making the first, my dear, dear wife, Josie's mother, she'd join me, and we come in and started, and we had a big fire in Linwood. Burnt down my whole building, lost all the cars, and that's when my wife went up to North Hollywood, looked at this building and says, that's it. And here we were in the Hollywood Wall of Fame and doing all these wonderful cars.
And Cassandra, when did you enter the picture? I'm going to guess that George is older.
That would be true. It would. Yes, it would. There is a big age difference, but it's okay, huh, George?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's okay. Works out.
And did you hang out at the shop ever?
I did. I met a lot of interesting people. One of my recollections, I always thought this was a funny story, is I was very young. I had to have been like 7 or 8, George, and I was with our dad, and this man came in, and I was so thunderstruck because he came in and he was wearing gold boots. What is this? Gold boots, I thought. And that person ended up being Elvis Presley.
See, that's the most amazing thing that most people don't see when they come in your shop, George, is that you have a few of the cars still in the showroom, including, now you sold the #1 Batmobile at auction at Barris Jackson a year ago, April, I guess it was.
That's right.
Well, it'll be coming up on 2 years now.
Yeah.
A year ago,
years.
April, yeah. So, and it went for a lovely price. It was unbelievable.
Broken the Guinness Book of Record for an auction company to sell a car.
It was. I was there with you. And when you rolled in, if you've never been to a car auction, it's quite a fun thing. I don't know how many thousands of people show up at Barris Jackson, but George came in the passenger seat, sitting up in the passenger seat, kind of standing up in the passenger seat.
Yeah, Tony Wood was driving.
Yeah, Tony.
You were over on the right-hand side.
Audrey and I, my wife and I, were on the right-hand side walking in with you. And the best description, my buddy Steve said, it was like Rocky coming into the ring.
Yes.
I mean, you were like this on top of the car, and the place went bananas. You could almost feel it when you're watching it on TV, because we watched it later, but you had to be there. It was unbelievable. And then the bidding started, and if you want to tell the price, I'll let you.
It was so interesting because 2 men were bidding money, and I mean big money. It got over to $4 million too, and one looked at the other, and the other looked and says, "It'll never stop. Let's flip a coin." We looked at both of them. Here's two men bidding over $4 million, and they don't have a dime in their pocket. They had to borrow 25 cents from the kid next to them before he flipped it, and the man that won it said, "George, I want you to know that I cleaned out my living room in my home a month ago because I was determined to get the Batmobile," and he did put it in his living room, and he ended up in the bedroom.
And is he still married?
I never counted that one.
All right, great. So you go to your shop, and this is what most people don't see. What you have is another Batmobile that you take to shows, and it's not the number one, but it's another one that you use.
Yeah.
That's a replica Batmobile.
Right.
Right. And you go to shows with it and still show up and sign autographs and take pictures, and it's still fantastic. But what people don't see in the shop is the history of what you've done and how many cars you've actually built for our stars and for other people and for shows. Because I'll try and describe it. You go into George's shop and you go into a couple of different rooms, large rooms, and literally from the floor to the ceiling are 8.5 by 11 boxes with 8 by 10 photos and other photos and the documents, and each box about the 1.5 inch file box is this big, all stacked up like this with the name of every celebrity written on the edge of the box. Ceiling to floor, wall to wall, box after box after box, and you can name a celebrity and George will go, Michael Jackson right there, Elvis Presley right there, Farrah Fawcett right there, and you can pull out a box and they'll tell you the story. My daughters, we were going to come over to the shop. I had something to ask you a question or show you something, and my daughters were with me. They were at the time early teenagers, and I go, "Girls, we're going to go see George Barris. He built the Batmobile." And one of my daughters looked at me and she said, "Dad, you know we're not boys." And I said, "I understand that, just trust me." We went in there, and George, you started talking to my daughters and started giving a tour of this place, started showing the different celebrities. You picked a couple that you thought they would be interested in. Michael Jackson was one of them. We walked out of there, and they're like, "That is the coolest old man we've ever met."
Thanks a lot.
Yep. So there you go. So I'm going to go to the question that I almost asked you here. What was the most challenging thing you ever created? The one that you just kind of went, I scratched your head and went, I don't know what we're doing here.
Well, there's so many challenging cars. I think the one car was the a la carte. The a la carte was a roadster that we went in for the world's most famous hot rod. So we went in and we won in, I forget the year, several years, and then we got number one. We come back again the next following year. Now we win it for 2 years in a row, the only time in history that you win the Grand National Roadster Show, which is worldwide. And this kind of helps us a lot because we're a family-run business. My daughter, my son, my grandson, my gang. I had gangs that worked on the Batmobile. I had a team of men that worked on the #1 Batmobile from all over the world. They come from Australia, they come from England, they came from different places, just to show you that we had talented craftsmen from worldwide. And there was so many stories. I mean, I could tell you movie star stories, I can tell you car stories, and family stories, but this is what it is.
Well, let me talk about the international thing for a second. So, Cassandra, you send cars all over the world for Warner Brothers, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So she sends them, Cassandra sends them everywhere. So, Cassandra, where are, and again, we'll go to the Batmobiles. There was a tour that you did, tell them about the NFL thing.
Well, just recently, Warner Home Video sponsored a tour with the Batmobiles that included several NFL cities. And Warner Brothers, the transportation department, has some excellent technicians that go with the cars, make sure they're running, and we go point to point to point to point. But clearly we went to Dallas, we went to New Orleans, we went to Pittsburgh in the snow. We're kind of like mailmen. You tell us where we need to be, and the guys get where they need to be. They're amazing. Some of them are here tonight: Hobart, Ron Poniwaz, Marlowe, Dave Reagan. that have transported these cars thousands and thousands of miles. And
some of the logistics are tough because, for example, the tumbler is 2 tires too wide to legally go on the highway to be hauled, right?
it is, and you're transporting a traveling circus because clearly everybody knows what a Batmobile is. You do not go undercover with a Batmobile. Trust me.
Wait, what? You'd never go undercover?
You don't go undercover.
Because people will break in?
We can't fit the tumbler undercover for number one.
So you have them out there in plain sight on top of the trailers for everybody to see?
Unfortunately, at times we do. It is a traveling circus. So truly, the circus has come to town. So the NFL tour was extremely successful. And
NFL tour meaning you took it to on display at before games where people could walk up, see the Batmobiles, and then go to the game.
Exactly, that's true.
And how many different games do you remember?
I think that we ended up going to 7 cities in 6 weeks. Ended up in Dallas, and then we ended up at the Nokia Center for the release of the DVD, The Dark Knight Rises.
And that was right before the LA Auto Show, right?
It was.
Yeah. And so put all the cars on display across the street from the LA Auto Show at Nokia. That's what you just said, right?
Nokia, in the Nokia Center area. Uh-huh.
Yeah. It was fantastic. Well, I wonder, Alicia, are we going to take any Twitter questions at this point, or people in the audience? Are we going to get to that? You know what? No. You know what? Don't run up there. I have a microphone. We have number 4 here. Check, check. We got a mic. Ready? All right. Here we go.
I'm the first person. I feel honored. Nice to meet you.
Oh, nice to meet you too.
There are tons of Batman movies. There's, between the TV series and the movies and the cartoons. Do you see the old classic Batmobile ever being made into the new movie? Do you see it actually making an appearance eventually? Do you see the 1966 car go in the 2015 movie?
Well, I certainly don't, because I think the thing that's so unique about all of the Batmobiles is their uniqueness. And every designer and every builder and every art director has a particular vision. So I don't think you'll ever see George's Batmobile in, let's say, for example, another Batman of any sort. But truly what is so amazing is to see them all together, and you can see the chrysalysis of all the changes and all the uniqueness of each one. It's very special because they're all in the tour tent or the car museum right now. So you would see that. But what do you think, George? Would you like your Batmobile in a new Batman?
I don't think so, because what I created in our Batmobile was to make it a happy car. A car that people would all like and enjoy. Not a bang-bang car, and not that kind. It was something that you always found some kick out of it. And Adam West and Burt Ward, he was the worst driver. He couldn't even drive. He had to jump and hit the top whenever he went in, and Adam would crack up laughing. But this is what made it become such a fun project. And no, I don't foresee a car of any structure that would become any more like that in the film industry. And I'm sure that Warner's and many of the other production companies are looking into the facets of working to make happy cars and happy people, just like our puppy at home. He's a happy puppy, so let's make our people happy.
Well, George, let's talk about that for a second. And by the way, Cassandra, brilliant stroke using the word chrysalysis. Whatever you said,
Yeah,
I have no idea what that means. I'm going to look it up. Chrysalis. It was great. It's fantastic. I went to college. No clue. Anyway, George, let's talk a bit about how your Batmobile, the 66 Batmobile, came about. So I'm going to talk about the Futura first.
Okay.
So the Futura was a 1955
Concept car.
Yeah, concept car that Lincoln came out with, and it was on the Ed Sullivan Show. It was very popular, highly popular. They had no intention of making it into a production vehicle, just a concept car, and they put it on tour for 4 years. And then what happened to it?
Well, then we toured in various the World of Wheels shows that went all over the United States and Canada and even overseas, which captivated the audience because they saw that it is real. It was just not a fictitious piece that was made and put together. But it was the structure of being a happy car instead of a bang-bang was one of the main things, and then all the little tricks we did.
Well, I'm talking about the Futura first.
Okay.
Yeah, the Futura. How they took the Futura and then it went on tour, and then how did it end up at your shop, the Futura?
The car, I was with the Ford Custom Car Caravan touring for Ford, and I had it sitting in my backyard for quite a while. And then when Dozier come to me and says, I got to have a Bat car, I immediately got a hold of Ford, and they said, we'll let you have the car. Let's find out what it is. So they said, you're going to cost you a lot of money. I said, okay, $1. A whole $1.
And who's one of the guys that made that decision? Some guy made some other car that we've heard of. DeLorean, right?
The DeLorean, you're correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you got the Futura for $1.
Right.
And from some of my research, what I saw was that the Futura, when they built it, actually cost in 1955 $250,000.
That's correct.
So I don't know what that is in today's money, and somebody can figure that out if they Google it. But that's a boatload of cash, right? And you got it for $1. That is a deal.
Yeah.
All right. So there
It had to be a silver dollar. It couldn't be a paper dollar.
That's nice. So here the Futura is sitting in your storage thing, just dilapidating, right?
Yes.
All right, so it's dilapidating. Dozier comes along. We need the car. You said, let's take the Futura and turn it into the Batmobile. And so what happened? What'd you do? And how long did it take you? And how much money? And all the budget and all that?
We had Dozier said you got three weeks, and you have. Golly, why do I forget how much money he gave me?
I think it was like, wasn't it like, yeah, it's $15,000.
God, did I get that much money?
So $15,000 to build the Batmobile out of the Futura, and you guys went to work.
And we had a team. Like I said, my team came from all over. Yeah. We had them in from Australia, from England. They were talented people, and their hearts and souls went into building and creating ideas for that car, because we were using a Ford chassis to make the basics and then going into making the full-size car.
So what about the flame, the exhaust out the back? We saw that in the video when we came in. What was that? I mean, you just don't go and get a jet engine and put it inside a Futura. What was that exhaust made out of?
Well, we had a fan in the back underneath, and I had a flame, and then I had a fan, and then that flame came across and it pushed it out back right between the spare tire.
But what was the structure? The thing, that's what's so funny is what you bolted on the back of the car.
It was bolted underneath the back of the car, and it came through between the Dietz bat chutes. We had 2 bat chutes to stop this car.
No, I'm trying to get the 5-gallon bucket.
Oh, that 5-gallon. I forgot all about that 5-gallon.
So the big exhaust on the back, you've always said, was a 5-gallon bucket that the flame shot out of, right?
Right.
Okay, good. That's what I was trying to go to. Now you give me a lot more information. I had no idea. Well, that was fascinating.
We kept coming up with different ideas each time. I remember when I was going down the thing, and I was going down the freeway.
You were going down the 101.
101, and I come back down the other way, and I popped the Dietz bat chutes.
Because you knew the press was on the over.
Right.
They were on the bridge, and they were going to take photos.
Taking pictures.
So you popped the
I popped
chutes.
the bat chutes, and I come in, and I'm pulling the bat chutes up, and here comes, what do you think you're doing? I said, well, I'm trying to stop the Batmobile. What are you talking about, Batmobile? A Batmobile, and you got to stop the Batmobile with bat chutes? I said, well, that's what we do in the racing world with the Dietz bat chutes, because that's how we stop the car.
Right. It's great.
That didn't stop me from getting a ticket, though.
Right. I got one for you. So Supercar Sunday, we have every Sunday in Woodland Hills, and it's every Sunday. The first Sunday of the month is the big one. You take whatever car you want. You can take your fanciest whatever Lamborghini, or you can take your piece of garbage, VW that's never been touched, right? So I'm taking the Keaton Batmobile, and I'm driving down Sherman Way on a Sunday morning at like 7 o'clock in the morning to get to the car show. I'm by myself. And I'm driving along, and some of that drive going down Sherman Way from, west on the way to Woodland Hills is not some of the best part of town. And I'm driving along, and I see up ahead of me 3 cop cars on the side of the road, and they've got this guy in handcuffs up against the building like this, right? And they turn, and there's nobody on the road. They turn and they look, and the 5 cops look, and they point at me, and I'm waving. We're about right here, and about when I get right here, I'm not kidding you, one of the cops took the guy in cuffs, turned him around by the waist, and he's like, So everybody loves the Batmobile.
You sure that guy wasn't me?
Yeah, it was you, George. I did get pulled over one time in the Keaton Batmobile, and I'll never forget this. It was just a simple question. He goes, "What is this?" I'm like, "What planet are you on? It's a Batmobile." Anyway, all right. So one of the things I wanted to talk about, Cassandra, was we started to go here. We are transporting vehicles. So we talked about the NFL thing, and now are there plans for him to go other places, other countries?
Well,
Because it's not just here.
Yes, clearly Batmobiles are global. Right now, I'm not aware of anything, but things come up spontaneously. You know, we were talking about Batmobiles, but in addition, in the car museum, we have other vehicles. One is the Mystery Machine that tours quite often. We have Clint Eastwood's Gran Torino, for example. So there's always a need for these cars to go out, and when they do, they call on our department, and we organize the shipment. But as far as recent Batman, I'm not sure if we have anything going. But coming up with the release of the new movie, possibly, we'll be touring.
And there's and that's the other thing. A lot of people don't realize that it's not like a committee at Warner Brothers that designs these Batmobiles. It's always a different artist, different director. Everybody has their idea of what it should be, and all these different designers and builders of the cars, and that's why they're always so different, and they always want to get a different take on it.
Yeah, true.
One thing I could answer about people asking about a Batmobile going worldwide. We have more tourists come into our shop in North Hollywood. I don't care from what part of the country or what part of the world. And they always say, gee, I wish you could bring that to our car show in England, in Germany, in Italy, Japan, China. Worldwide, the Batmobile is still #1.
Yeah, that's true. One of my fondest memories of doing the documentary was putting together all the designers and the builders in one. It happened to be stage 29, and it was really, really close to my heart to see George with his Batmobile, and Tim Flattery with his Batmobile, and Harold Belker with his Batmobile, and all of them had the commonality and love of one another's cars. And I'll tell you, I wish I was a fly on the wall when Christopher Nolan walked up to George and started talking to him about his Batmobile. But there is a uniqueness to each one and a love between the fellow builders and designers. And that was very, very special day for me to put everybody together.
And the photographs are amazing when you have all 5 cars together, and
And Christopher Nolan knew exactly what was into him, because I was watching him when he was going through the cars, and he got a hold of the one guy that put that one car together, and he says, the screws are supposed to be brass, not chrome.
That guy was me. Huh? Yeah, it was pretty terrifying. What? Oh, really? Whoa.
I got another goofy story for you. So the tumblers, before they were going to go down to Comic-Con, right? And Andy Smith, designer and builder of the tumblers, right? So you guys needed a place to keep one of the tumblers, and I'm like, I have a little kind of garage thing you can keep it in. So you brought both tumblers over, and Andy comes over to look at them to make sure they're ready for Comic-Con. And there's a little tiny piece missing on one of the tumblers. It was about this big. And he said, well, what are we going to do here? You can't leave it like that. I'm like, what do you want to do? And he goes, well, you got this 3D printer here. I go, yeah, I got a little 3D printer. And so he sat down with his laptop and typed on it for a little while and in CAD and made this oddly shaped, there are no right angles on the tumbler, no right angles at all. Made this oddly shaped piece. We hit print. 30 minutes later, there's a little black piece. He went over and took some super glue and went, there. Done. Yeah. Do we have any questions on Twitter? Oh boy, let's get some of those. All right. George, do you tweet?
Huh?
Do you tweet?
Do I tweet?
Do you tweet? Yeah.
Do I tweet?
Yeah, do you tweet?
Tweet.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's what I was looking for. All right. So you don't do the Twitter?
I don't do the Twitter.
Don't do the Twitter. All right, good. All right, this is from Bev in Columbus, Ohio. What advice would you give to aspiring car designers? That's an interesting question because, George, I will say this, there will never be another George Barris. Before we answer this question, can I go to that slide right here of some of your stuff? So, George, some of these, are these all your cars?
These are all mine. They're all a worldwide winners of everything you could think of. In our big location that we had between Linwood and North Hollywood, we were able to create with our family many different kinds. Don't matter what kind of custom you want, we were there.
So I think this was a great question from Bev in Columbus, Ohio. What advice would you give to aspiring car designers?
The first thing you have to do is consider the purpose of what the car is going to be used for. Is it going to be a film car? Is it going to be a drag car? Is it going to be a street car? Is it going to be a cruise car? So you make up your mind. From there, it's the budget. From the budget, you go to the design. Then you find if you get sponsors or where you're going to be and how you're going to be and what enjoyment can you have in building the car. The first purpose is to find out whether it's going to be a happy car or a bang-bang car or whatever. And then from there on, you can have more fun than on them, because many of the guys here, you can see we got the yellow funny car he's got over there. Yes, you. You ought to see the car he built. Oh, God, he tears them apart, and I can't keep up with them. So that's the things you look for, is what is the purpose of your car, why, and how much enjoyment can you have from it, and the budget, and who you can help when you do the work. Because the purpose of building cars is family. Everybody together joins and makes it a part of our world parts.
All right. This is interesting. All these questions, I got 3 questions here. They're all from women, from females. So that's interesting. It's you, George. Yep. This is from this is from
Did they
Stacy.
happen to leave any names?
They left names and Twitter addresses. So oh well.
I'm lucky I never got past my cell phone.
Right. From Stacy in San Antonio, George, have you ever driven any of the cars yourself?
Oh, there's no car you would ever, and car guys know this, all you car guys, you don't ever do a car, whether you drive it, I don't care if it's just a frame, wheels, tires, you have the same thing. I've seen you go out on the road, you come out of the garage, and I said, where's the rest of the car? It's coming up, it's coming up. So it's the fun part that you get as you're building the car, that you can feel the the power, and what do you want to do with it.
Let's take anybody, a hand. I can run over there with a microphone. Anybody? Okay, right? Yeah, I would pick right in the middle where you can't. Here.
Don't fall.
Here, take this.
What was the very first either studio or celebrity that came up to you and asked you to design your first car for a major like motion picture or a celebrity?
Oh, that's a good question, George.
I didn't hear that, did you?
What was your first celebrity? Who came to you first? Major celebrity, and what was your first studio car?
Well, there was a young man that came in and wanted his limousine built. We built the limousine, and he come in to inspect the car. Now, he went to all 12 of my men working, and he called each one of them, sir. Mr. Tubbs, how you feeling today? I heard you were sick. Mr. Charlie, how you doing? I heard the metal hit your finger. He went to all 12 people before he came in and talked to me, and that young man was Elvis Presley.
Wow.
To show you the kind of people that we have that love cars. I don't care if you could be the biggest star in the world or whomever you like, we all join the same forces.
Do you remember what you built for him? Did you build something for him?
It was a Cadillac limousine,
Cadillac limousine.
and it had an entertainment center, and it had a yacht boat with portholes in the back. And from there on, it became a bus, and then it comes all kinds of cars.
You know-
He was really a car guy.
Yeah, one person or group of people that George did design for that I particularly find really fascinating right now is the Rat Pack. And you could talk about doing cars for Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin and
The Rat Pack they were the best. Frank, we did Excaliburs for him. Now he comes in one morning and he said, George, I'm tired of having people look at me when I'm driving to the studios in the morning. He says, black out all my windows. I said, but Frank, if Frank Sinatra says black out your windows, you black them out. So I blacked them out. Next morning he comes driving in, knocks my shoulder. Hey, how you doing, Frank? Fine. He said, you know what, George, you were right. I couldn't see an effing thing last night.
All right. Who else?
Question for Cassandra. How long have you worked the Warner Brothers transportation department?
Well, now I can admit I'm as old as Methuselah, I think, but I started here. I always find it rather funny. My first week of work here, I was quite excited because the TV Guide was shooting a photo for the magazine of the Lorimar families, and those Lorimar families included the Waltons, 8 is Enough, and that show that had not aired and no one knew of called Dallas. So if that gives you an idea how long I've been around here, long time.
I think it's amazing to walk around out here. People who walk around Warner Brothers, especially this town. You walk around this town and you're just, it's amazing how much this city has shaped so much of the world because of our, what we give the world in entertainment with film and television and especially when you come to a place like this where you're walking around and I'm just excited that the courthouse is just right, literally 200 yards away where Batman and Robin would pull up and run up the steps. Yeah, so when nobody's looking, I'm taking the damn Batmobile over there and going to run up the steps and take a picture, so. All right. Michelle from Woodland, Texas. These are all from the South. She says, have you ever made any other vehicles for Warner Brothers or any studios besides the Batmobiles? So in your memory, what's one of your greatest other famous cars you've created?
Golly Moses. Warner Brothers, we did so many cars, I mean.
Well, how about the Munsters? You did the Munster coach, and then you did Grandpa's, what's the name of it, the coffin?
Dragula.
That was,
Yeah, Dragula. Did you do that? Or you do that?
The Dragula was interesting because I like to build a car that is real. So when they came through, we were going to use a casket. Sure, you can.
A happy car. A happy car.
Yeah, real happy.
Wasn't that Bang Bang car?
It's got to be real. You can't go into a casket if it's not real. So I take my buddies, Tony and all of us, we go to the mortuary, and I says, I want to buy that casket car. What are you going to do with it? I'm going to use it for TV. And you're going to sell it to you. Come on, get out of here. So I go to the next place. We did the same thing. I want to use that. We're going to take it and use it for the film world. I hate the film industry. Get out of here. So I finally went to the third one. I opened up an envelope, and I'm putting the dollar bills in the envelope. And Tony and the gang lifted the casket car and walks out the door.
All right, Georgia, that's amazing. So Dragula is where now?
The Dragula is,
some museum?
one of them is over at Galpin at a museum called Gas. He's got a lot of Ed Roth cars.
Oh, that place is great.
Yeah,
Bo
really
has accumulated some amazing
wonderful
vehicles.
location, and he's a car guy, and he got a good bunch of guys that love cars and build cars. And in fact, we're talking about my latest inspiration. I built every kind of a hot rod, as you can see.
Yep.
And lately, every time I go to the Grand National Roadster Show, every 32 Ford is the same. Painted headlights, bullet grill, all same thing. It's boring.
Right.
It's boring. So I went ahead and I said, I'm going to take a Ford Mution. I'm going to take a Prius I threw away. I went ahead and
Wait, you had it? What do you mean you threw it away? You had a Prius.
Well, I put Lamborghini doors on it, and it keeps falling down on me. So
You got rid of your Prius?
oh my God!
You got rid of your Prius?
Huh?
You got rid of your Prius?
I got radio Priuses.
You got rid. Did you still have your Prius?
Well, eventually, we try to find somebody to take it, but I can't find anybody that can drive it.
I'll
These
sell it.
Lamborghini doors keep falling down on you.
Yeah. Well, I gave mine to the ex-wife, so maybe. Anyway, go on.
So this is where I forgot. Where are we at?
I don't know. I think it's Burbank.
So anyhow. So that's the happy world we have with that.
Right,
You know,
that's great.
look at it. How many of you people can enjoy coming into USA? Now this is a big thing. I became a big part of the Hall of Fame of the USA, of the SEMA organization. And I've been trying to get there for many years, and the guys were saying, well, what did you build in aftermarket parts? I said, I built aftermarket parts before you were even born. So I said, there's nothing. He says, well, what do you say that you're going to contribute to that? I said, there's one thing I'm going to contribute. When I customize cars from now on through, they're going to be made in USA.
George, tell them about the 51 Merc you're doing for me. Yeah.
Well, we're right in the track. Now, this is a good example. Here's my sister and her wonderful, wonderful husband. He's wobbling around, and we're doing the same thing. It isn't that he can't walk. She hasn't got him a pair of shoes yet. So,
George, he's right there. He's waving at you. There you
Right.
go.
He's wobbling up in the
oh,
seat.
oh, there he is. Oh,
So-
you got your bathing suit on? Oh, good.
So wait, I want to. When did you start rebuilding the 51 Merc?
I would say it's been about a year. Well, we're going to do a lot of different things to it. The paint color is going to go in a blend from lower blue to sky blue. The chop top is going to blend with the lower part. It's going to go into penetrations of. It's still going to be a Mercury, but it's going to have different aspects of design and construction that'll make it fun. But it's got to be a drive car. It cannot be just a show car.
Now, the one thing you mentioned really quickly, a lot of people might not have caught it. You said you're still a cut and paste guy. And that's what cracks me up, is that you still will cut out pictures of cars and pieces of cars and actually paste them together. But that's one thing. That's how you design cars. The other thing, if you're on George's mailing list, Josie, what do you call them? His paper dolls? Is that what they are? Okay. So George, whenever he goes to a car show, I call George the P.T. Barnum of the car world. Because George will put together, when you go to a car show, you have somebody take photographs, you get all the photographs, you take all the pictures and you cut them out, and you put them, and you have a label maker, right?
Yeah.
And he labels all the photographs to hell with Photoshop. And Twitter. And he pastes them all together. And do you have a color copier? How do you do that?
I have a nice, wonderful color copier. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then you put these pasted paper doll letters together, and they're usually 2, 3, 4, 5 pages each.
Oh, yeah.
And one staple. And then you mail them out, you handwrite everything, and you send them out to your mailing list. And it's the greatest thing to open these up and go, what car show? How many car shows do you go to a month?
Well, one thing I think we should say,
Yeah.
any one of you see yourself in the mail anytime, you know where it came from.
Right, exactly. How many car shows do you go to a month?
We go to Portland tomorrow. We just got back from Florida. And lucky I got Tony, because Tony, he remembers everything. And I just can't count them anymore.
And you're 58 years old.
What'd you say?
All right, let's move on. Another question here from the audience. Anybody? Okay, I'm going to get to this guy before you are.
I had a chance to go to the Batman exhibit over at LA Live. It was fantastic.
Oh,
and I wanted to say that I really enjoyed it quite a bit,
Oh,
being able to
good.
see all the different vehicles as well as the props and the costumes. And I had a quick question. Besides the best Batmobile, which is the 66, do either of you have another favorite Batmobile, and why?
I like the Batman and Robin, the George Clooney Batmobile. I love the sleekness of it. It's a single-seater. It's the longest, has the most neon, and I think the line...
How many batteries?
16 batteries
16.
just to operate the neon. And it was designed by a gentleman out of Austria named Harold Belker. But the lines and the movement of that car, it's
And there's
very
only one
hard
of
to
those.
go.
There's usually 2 of every one.
Yeah.
Only one of those. And what was the price tag?
A lot.
George, you can take this question however you want, but it's from Bobby in Mount Vernon, Ohio. Ready for the question?
Okay.
What are your favorite interior tricks?
Well, interior, I like real leather. It's very good. The vinyls are terrific. But some of the solid pearl vents that come in that can blend into the seats is the best way you can do it. It'd be something different, see. And some of the gold plating, instead of just copper, gives you another if you got gold or different tones on the outside to match the inside. You can't go gold on the inside and then go blue on the outside. You got to run a family combination to make it become a blend.
Well, one of the things I've noticed about some of the wackiest creations is that there are other guys out there who've made wacky creations, but yours always have some sort of whimsy. And when people, when you look at the pictures of the Futura, you can see that you took that car and you added just enough to it to make it the Batmobile. And it was not over the top. It was super cool. And I've seen that in some of your other creations as well, where you'll take some wacky things like literally front door lamps off the front of the house, outdoor lamps, and stick them on the sides of the car. Like aren't those on the Monster Coach?
Yeah. Lamps I got out of a hardware store,
Right.
and put that on the back and hang them. Yes, we make functional pieces that you're talking about.
But but it's not like just stuff put together. It all blends together to look. It's got a whimsy to it that it works.
Just like when I did the Beverly Hillbillies, the producer was in Beverly Hills.
Right.
So I go up to the producer and he says, I gotta have a wacky Beverly Hillbilly jalopy, that junkie. I said, where am I gonna find a jalopy in Beverly Hills? So I go out to the San Bernardino freeway and there's an old feed store. And I look
Guess
at
where they're from. That's where they're from.
that old feed store, San Bernardino, that's what you got out there. I look and there was an old jalopy that was, they cut the whole back out of it and made it into a feed hauler. And I took pictures of it. The fenders were all bashed in, it didn't run, I run back to the studio, I show him this, I say, George, that's terrific. He says, but you got one thing you got to do. I said, what's that? You got to make a rocking chair in the back for old granny. So
That's
you have
great.
to take into mind what you have to put together.
Right.
You know, one of the things I remember when I was little, going to these car shows that George had done that was amazing to me at the time, he always had phones in the car. I just couldn't believe it in the 60s. And if you look at the Batmobile, the 66, there's a phone in there. Who would have ever thunk? But when I was little, I mean, that was beyond. I couldn't imagine that somebody would have a phone in their car, and here it is.
But some of them obviously were fake. Never.
Hello, this is Batman. Batman was there all.
That wasn't real?
That was a real phone.
Okay, good. All right, here's
We didn't have those cell phones and things at that day.
yeah, those are a pain.
Yeah, they are.
It's a fad.
You're right.
I give it 3 months tops.
You won. You won.
All right, Cassandra, Jerry from Los Angeles, he wants to know, it's a Y, so it's a guy. Cassandra, do you have a favorite vehicle in the museum?
Wow, nobody's ever asked me that.
I just did.
Yeah, I guess you did, and Jerry. Well, it would probably have to be a Batmobile. I have such a fondness for.
Well, what's your favorite? And by the way, we keep calling the Tumbler a Batmobile. It's not really a Batmobile, it's a Tumbler, but it's still in there. So that was one of my geek things. Anyway, what is your, not counting George's, what would be you already said the one. Yeah.
That, but oftentimes we haven't had them on display for a number of years, but when we did Batman and Robin, there were several vehicles that were designed. There was a Freeze-mobile, there was...
Where's that?
Well, actually, it was sold. That went away, but there were several. There was the Robin, the Redbird, the motorcycle. There was the Batgirl motorcycle. There was several vehicles that were in the movie. I'm trying to remember the nicknames for them all, but we haven't had those on display for a number of years, and they're beautiful in of themselves. So
well, that is what's amazing about Warner Brothers. I was lucky enough to go over to the, what do you call it? The
archive.
The archive place, and remember the scene in Raiders of the Lost Ark, at the very last scene where he's pushing the thing, the giant crates, and it goes to 3 football fields long. That's pretty much what archives looks like.
It is.
And all these amazing props and costumes and stuff, vehicles, the Time Machine from whatever the movie was. It the Time Machine?
The time, yeah.
Yeah. Now, was it H.G. Wells or no? It was the later one.
It was the later one.
The later one. Unbelievable pieces of artwork in there. And then the other place you go around, here's the prop department. Holy moly. she took me through there, the prop department here. It's like, you know, do you need name any kind of what's it from your past? And they have 50 of them, all in bins and all numbered and cataloged.
Exactly, and one can enjoy that on the Warner Brother tour, so please. Part of it.
And unfortunately, the show Hoarding showed up here one year and were mistaken. They thought that was...
You know, there's another thing that a lot of you out there think about and talk about. You know, you think this is a man's sport. We got a young lady down here that has the best car shows you ever saw, West Coast Customs. She's hiding from me. Don't hide. You got the hot show, and she puts on the greatest show, and we enjoy it because she's a girl.
Okay, who else? Yes, right here. I'm going to run right up here. What is your name?
Yvette.
Yvette, there you go.
Cassandra. Last year was Superman's year. This year is Batman's 75th anniversary, correct? First appearance in film. Do you expect to be taking the cars back to Comic-Con? Like, you know, like last year you had the big thing, and again, it was Superman. This year it'll be Batman. So are we expecting that maybe we'll have the cars, including the new one for the new film?
Well, I'm not at liberty to say, but I think you might have a point there. But I think, let's put it this way, it's been spoken of, so always possible. We're at the ready, us Teamsters, we're ready to roll if need be, but yes.
And the other the new Batmobile is finished, but no one's seen it.
That is true. That is true. It's all under wraps, as they say.
So, George, what do you want to be remembered for? You know, I think a lot of us, you know, we know what we love about you. We know, many of us know many of your creations. But when you leave this planet, what is it that you want to be remembered for?
Well, I think the most memorable item in my life is, of course, my wonderful, wonderful wife that I lost. But she left us with a wonderful family. My daughter, my son, my grandson, and the wonderful husband my daughter has. So I'm very fortunate to have this availability now before I go away, because I can always remember what they've contributed and are contributing to all of us to be here. And thank God for you all.
George Barris, ladies and gentlemen. Well, you guys, this has been just amazingly fun and educational and entertaining, and we appreciate so much everyone coming in here. But we have a little something to show you that I surprised George with today, just something I thought he'd like to see. And we pre-taped it before the show started, so we're going to show that to you. But before they show it and turn out the lights, we're going to exit out of here. And so we're going to get going here. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for this, and for everybody that joined us on YouTube and did the Twitter thing. George, we got to get you into the Twitter thing.
That's a tough one. That's like telling me, eeny, meeny, miny, mo, when are you going to get ready to go?
All right. Well, that'd be now. All right. So you guys, thank you very, very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay. That is
It is. Look.
the Lincoln Futura.
Yep, the Lincoln Futura.
Oh my
Look,
God.
and look who's driving it, George.
Oh my
Can you
God.
imagine? Remember?
Yes, do I remember? Wow. I happen to have a dollar in my pocket. Will you take the car for $1?
Well, you bought it the first time for $1.
That's right.
Maybe I should sell it to you again for $1.
Wow, look at that.
Look at it, George. Isn't it incredible?
Unbelievable.
I told Jeff that this car reminded me of like when we used to go to the Pan Pacific with Aunt Edith
Yes.
and see you, right?
That's
the
right.
Jetsons.
So how many years has it been since you've seen the Futura?
Oh my God. I mean,
It's a pretty good replica.
if John, Delorean, these other guys could see this remnants. I used to have it sitting in my back lot where that gas station was.
Right?
Yep.
Yep. So there was only one Futura. That was it. You turned it into the original Batmobile.
That's it.
And this one was actually made off the molds of one of your Batmobiles. The guy reversed
Off the
engineered
mold.
it. Yeah.
Because I remember the molds from the Futura was in the back lot, and they took it out to the airport.
Well, the guy reversed engineered it. He took one of the Batmobiles that came out of your molds and reversed engineered it and turned it back into the Futura.
He sure did a good job. He did it the right way. That's why we used it, because we had the double bubbles. See?
Yeah. Well,
and that was a
really
big thing.
It was really interesting to see all the stuff that you did to the Batmobile to turn it from this into that.
Yeah, because I had to change. I wanted to make this difference in there, and you know, they had a lot of different things that they had when they sent it to Italy to be done, and then when they returned, and then we wanted to redo it. And as we were going and working, I wanted this for the Batmobile, and then for that, we got to do that for the Batmobile, and it was each time I made it.
Do you remember what the original cost when they took it to Italy to build it?
The original cost at that time was $1,500,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. And that when Delorean gave it to me for $1.
$1. That's fantastic. Quite a deal.
Yeah.
And how long did it sit before you turned it into the Batmobile?
Oh, it was months. I can't even count the time, because we really didn't have any usage for a futuristic car.
Right.
They were either chopped Mercuries or shoeboxes. And then when Dozier came and he says, okay, pull me over there. And I took one look at it. I says, at the ideas that he had, I said, this has got to be a supercar. And that's when I told him I'll use the Futura.
So something like this you haven't seen since probably 1966, because you turned it into the Batmobile.
Yeah, when it turned into the Batmobile, that was the last of the Futura.
Well, we should take a ride around and wave at people.
Yeah, that would be interesting. That would be interesting.
Well, why don't you come on and get on the other side?
All right, I would.
Right,
I hope some of these people have a memory from that day.
Right. Well, you know, as much publicity as this thing had, they toured it for 4 years, from what I understand, from 55 to 59.
Yeah.
Check this out. Ready? Put your foot under there. Door opens up.
That's cute. That's great.
Oh, wait a minute. We got to open the canopy.
Yeah.
Hang on a second.
Yeah.
It's a slow process.
I don't want to chop my head off to get in there.
Yeah, if you're in a hurry to get in this thing, you're not going anywhere fast. Okay, hang on. Take a second.
We've been used to that.
Yeah. I'm not going to call it efficient.
It isn't efficient. It is what was done in those days.
Yep. But then you got to watch your head getting in.
Okay. All right. Because I remember the seats. Yeah. I remember the days when I was looking for door handles.
Oh yeah, no door handles. All right, there we go.
All right. Oh, you got it's a nice running car, though.
All right, here we go.
How did you find it? Good
I looked
people.
and looked and looked.
How did you find people that can do work like this? And you know, it's tough.
Yeah.
You know, nose and deck and chopping the top is different.
Yeah.
But pulling back history and then escalate it and then make the different sizes, it's hard to find those kind
Well, I think this was actually built in the 80s. So it's been sitting around for a long time.
And you got to find it, and you got to still find a guy that will be able to reconstruct.
Yeah. We should just leave now. What do you think?
It's too much
To
fun.
hell with this thing. Let's go.